to the Glam Cam. I'm Rachel Barenbaum, author of A Bend in the Stars. And today I have a super special guest, one of our founders at Mighty Blaze, Caroline Leavitt. Her 12th book just dropped, With or Without You, and I loved it. I couldn't put it down. I read it in one sitting. Caroline, tell me, what is your book about?
Well, first of all, I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. You're a genius producer, and everybody should know that Rachel is also a wonderful writer. Just like her book just blew me away. The book is actually it's about a midlife couple. Simon, who was a once famous rock and roller whose shine is now starting to tarnish a little, and Stella, his longtime partner, who's a very practical nurse, and she goes in a coma. And when she wakes up, she has a radically different personality, as well as an astonishing new talent, which sometimes does happen in coma, which gives her the fame that Simon always wanted, and she's not so sure that she does want. So the book is a lot about how we all really contain multitudes and how we all can really change and what we do when our partner changes and we don't.
This book is very personal for you because you have also been in a coma. Can you talk about that?
Yes. I was in a coma shortly after the birth of my son with a mysterious blood disease, and they didn't know what it was, so they put me in a medical coma for 3 weeks. And they gave me memory blockers because they did not think that I would survive, and they just didn't want me remembering any of the procedures and tests they were doing. I did survive, but what happened is, although my brain was completely blank of everything that happened, anybody who was there with me, my husband, my friends, my family, they were so traumatized, they didn't want to talk about anything. It just upset them so much. So I just said, okay, we'll leave it alone. But so while my mind was blank, my body was not. And I was getting all these terrible post-traumatic shock triggers. I'd smell a certain smell and I'd panic, and it turned out it would be something I had smelled in the hospital. And I knew I had to sort of deal with it. So one of my friends who was a psychiatrist said, you know, the brain doesn't really know the difference. If you tell someone under hypnosis that you're putting a match to their face, their skin's going to blister. And he said, you're a writer, so why don't you write about it? So I wrote this book shortly after the coma. It was about a woman just like me, goes in coma, couldn't remember what happens with her family. And it helped a little, but not enough. So over the years, I just sort of got used to the triggers. And then all of a sudden I began to think, maybe my mistake was writing about somebody who couldn't remember like me. Maybe I need to write about somebody who remembers everything and who's aware of everything. So I created Stella. And you know, as a writer, that when you're writing characters, you're in the zone. You are the character. Their memories are yours. Their feelings are yours. And through doing that, I was finally able to process the coma and get rid of all of the triggers except one. I still do not like to go to sleep at night.
Stella goes into her coma as a nurse, and she comes out and finds this hidden, amazing talent as an artist. Why did you choose art as her talent?
I wasn't, when I was researching it, a lot of people came on and they were doing different things. And I was trying to think, well, what would she do? And I didn't want her to be a writer. And I didn't really want her to be like a great athlete because I don't know anything about that. And I'm not responding to that. However, I do paint, and when I was in high school, I actually was good enough to get a high school scholarship to go to Mass College of Art, and I just gave it up because I didn't have that passion. So I was trying to think of like what she would do, and I remembered when I came out of my coma, I did actually draw a lot of circles, and they never went any further. It was just, that was it. That was just sort of hypnotic for me. And I remembered that R. Crumb, the underground artist, his brother, used to draw these incredible, intricate drawings just using circles. And I thought, well, that would be good. And that would be also something that it's sort of like writing, and that writing you get at the deep heart of stuff, and really good painters make you feel.
So the book is dominated by a friendship between Stella and Libby, and it's a tough friendship. It has its ups and downs. Can you tell us about it? How did you come up with those ups and downs?
Well, I wanted Stella to have a friend because for me, like, my female friends are really, really important to me. And I wanted Libby to be a doctor because I wanted to talk about some gender issues. I have some friends who are women and they're doctors, and they get a lot of flack the same way that Libby did. And I also wanted there to be a sort of interaction between them. Like, what would you do if your friendship was suddenly changed and the person you loved as a friend was suddenly changed? And even worse, you're starting to have feelings for your friend's partner. And I thought, oh, that's, I always, when I'm running, I always look for questions which have to do with, well, what would I do? And as I was thinking about it, I got really uneasy because I thought, I don't know what I would do. I think most of the time, whenever anything like that ever happened to me, I would always call my friend and say, you know what, I don't know what to do about this. What should I do? And then we would talk it out. And I would always leave. I would always say, okay, I'm not going to have a relationship with anybody else's person. But I thought, what if you couldn't stop that feeling? And what if that person's relationship wasn't the same as it had been? It sort of has a whole different layer. And that really interested me. And I wanted to see, like, could those two women still stay friends?
This is your 12th book, as I mentioned. Congratulations. It's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
How do you publish 12 books? How do you hang in through the ups and downs of a career like that?
It was hard. My first novel was a fluke in that I won a writing contest, and all of a sudden I was the flavor of the month, and I was flown everywhere, and I thought, this is great, this is going to be like it every time. And of course it wasn't. My publisher went out of business. I got another publisher. They went out of business. I changed agents. I got a 3-book deal with a major publisher. They did nothing. So the book died. I got another major publisher, 3-book deal again. And you think if they're going to get 3 books from you, they're going to do publicity, but they didn't. So on my last book in the series was my 9th book, Pictures of You. And by then, nobody knew who I was. I mean, absolutely nobody in the literary world had any idea who I was. Nobody was returning my calls. And the editor at the big publisher called me up and said, I'm really sorry, Caroline, but we're not going to publish this novel. And I said, why not? And she said, well, none of us here really think it's special. So I started to cry, and I said, can I make it special? And she said, we really don't think that you can. And I said, well, would you look at something else I wrote? And there was silence, and she said, no, actually, I don't think so. So I hung up the phone and I went to my husband. I said, I don't have a career anymore. I'm going to just sort of write for myself, or maybe I'll self-publish, or, I was like near hysterical. And I called all my women friends, of course, hysterical. And one of them said, you know what? I'm at Algonquin and I have this editor I really like, and I think she might like this. And I said, well, you're welcome to send it, but my career is over. So they sent it to this editor, Andra Miller, and she called me. And I thought, oh, why is she calling me? And she started talking about the book. And I thought, wow, this sounds like a pitch. This is really weird. And I said, listen, I have to stop you. I feel like it's imperative that you know. I mean, I was so dumb. I didn't realize that editors could look up your sales. I said, I do not sell books. I just don't. I've had this in my 9th book and I haven't sold anything. Nobody knows who I am. And she laughed and she said, oh, honey, they will now. So I sold the book to them for very little money, but that was fine. I was thrilled. And 6 weeks before the book came out, Algonquin had it in 6 printings. It made the New York Times bestseller list its 2nd week out. It was a Costco pennies pick. It was on these best of the year lists. And the funniest thing was that the editor who had rejected it, who had said it wasn't special enough, called my agent and said, would Caroline like to come back? And my agent said, no, she's really, really happy with Algonquin. So in a way, it was actually a very good thing to happen, because I have a very different view of success and fame than other people do. I just think of it as, you don't even think about it. It's the work that matters. A writing career is like, it's going to go up, it's going to go down, at least mine will. And who knows what's going to happen. And I know that things can change on a dime, and so I can't really concern myself too much about it. Otherwise, I will need an IV of Klonopin. So that's why I always tell writers when they get depressed, don't give up. Don't
I
give
love
up.
it.
You never know.
Right, so that's my next question is, what advice do you have for debut authors?
Oh, for debut authors? Well, first of all, I love debut authors as you do. And
I
you
do.
such a
I love them.
tremendous job producing them. And I wish that every debut author would come and talk to me before they go out into the publishing world, because first thing is never give up. Never take things personally. Sometimes people will say no. No does not always mean no. And sometimes even if it does mean no, it's because the person might be in a bad mood, or maybe their job is on the line. It has nothing to do with you. Even though it's a debut, there's a lot of stuff you can do to make some noise around your debut. Social media is really important. Write. This is advice I got from a writer when I was first starting out, and it's brilliant advice. Every week, write a nice letter to an author you admire. Do not ask for anything. Just say, dear so-and-so, I read your book and it just knocked me out, and I just wanted you to know that. If you want, you can say I'm an author too, but do not ask for a blurb or anything. Sign your name. I started doing that, and you will be surprised how many authors just love it, and they write back to you, and they're so grateful. And that's how you build up a writing community. And the writing community will help you. They will bend over backwards for you. Tweet about other writers' books, promote them. We'll do the same for you.
Dear Caroline, I absolutely loved your books. I love your advice. I love you as a mentor. Thank you so much for coming on today.
I love you too, Rachel.
So many copies.